Hello and welcome to another Nickjitsu video. Today we're going to be talking about Easy Allan Holdsworth.
Easy Allan Holdsworth?
Yep, you're quite right. There is no Easy Allan Holdsworth. I don't even think Allan Holdsworth found playing Allan Holdsworth easy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go inside Allan Holdsworth Pentatonics, or what I call Allan Holdsworth Pentatonics, so we can create some sonic shenanigans and audio adventures and see where it leads us. So to help us on our journey today, I'm going to be drinking Timothy Taylor's Landlord, which reputedly was one of the Jedi Master's favourite beers, according to this wee book here, which is a fantastic read, and you'll also learn some Allan Holdsworth tunes along the way. But quite a lot about beer. So, sláinte mhath. Here's to the man who didn't really want to play guitar in the first place. Can you imagine if he did want to play guitar? Can you imagine how difficult the already difficult Allan Holdsworth stuff would already be? What we're going to look at today then is some, let's call it cheap council budget Holdsworth licks, or Holdsworth ideas, using scales that we already know. I'm going to keep everything kind of inside at the moment, but by which I mean I'm going to keep them fairly diatonic. I can do a part 2 to this video where I look at all the outside stuff, which I'm kind of working on and practicing at the minute. It takes a lot of practice to do this stuff. I've already done a video where I'm noodling about over a backing track, which I'll do the thing with the what's it and what do you call it? You thing the doodah, and so you can watch that as well. And that's got all the ideas that will be in kind of both videos. Let's dive into the scales that we're going to use. Now we're just going to use the humble pentatonic again. I'm a big believer in keeping it simple, so we're going to play in D minor pentatonic. Like that. Shape number 1 of the Holdsworth Pentatonics is shape number 1 of the normal pentatonics plus shape number 2 of the normal pentatonics. So we're going to join shape 1, like the F major pentatonic. We're going to join that to the D minor pentatonic, and we're going to get this. So all we're going to do is we're going to take 10th fret, 13th fret, 15th fret on the E string, and then 10, 12 and 15 on the A string, and then 10, 12, 15 on the D string, and then 10, 12, 14 on the G, and then 10, 13, 15 on the B, and then the same again on the E, 10, 12, 13. 10, 13. There you go. That was Scottish. Like that. Now you might feel that's a big stretch, and little disclaimer, I'm not going to be held responsible for any of you guys getting tendinitis or carpal tunnel syndrome or RSI or developing a liking for Yorkshire bitter. Basically keep your hand as relaxed as possible. Keep your shoulder down, and don't press too hard with the thumb. People have a tendency to do that. Shape number 2, we've got pentatonic shape number 2 with shape number 3 in D minor. So we're going to take, we're going to be playing the 13th, 15th, 17th, and then the 12th, 15th and 17th, and then 12th, 15th, 17th on the next string. And on the G, we're going to be playing 12, 14, 17. And then taking that shape, but everything goes up a fret this time on the B string, we're going to be playing 13, 15 and 18. And then back to 13, 15, 17 on the top string. Like that. Next, what do we get after shape 2? Correct, shape 3. Very good. So shape 3 Holdsworth pentatonic. We've got basically shape 3 plus shape 4 in normal pentatonics. So we're going to play, we'll keep it up here just so the stretches don't get too mental. And what we'll do is we'll play 15, 17, and that would be 20. 20, I said 20. 15, 17, 20. And then 15, 17, 20 on the A string. And then we're going to be playing 15, 17, 19. And then 14, 17, 19. And then same shape up again, up a fret. What's that? 15, 18, 20. And then 15, 17, 20 on the top string. So you get that one. And this one, I will take down the octave, otherwise we're going to get too high and squeaky. So shape 4 Holdsworth pentatonic, which is shape 4 and shape 5 to us mere mortals. We're going to be playing fret 5, 8 and 10 on the E string. Same again on the A string, 5, 8, 10. And then on the D string we're going to be playing 5, 7, 10. And then 5, 7, 10 on the G. And then 6, 8, 10 on the B. And then 5, 8, 10 on the E. There we go. So that gives us shape 4. And then shape 5, which is shape 5 and shape 1 together. We're going to be playing 8, 10, 13. And then we're going to be playing 8, 10, 12. And then we're going to repeat this shape. We're going to be playing 7, 10, 12. And then 7, 10, 12 on the G. And then 8, 10, 13. And then 8, 10, 13. There you go. I sometimes struggle with the fret numbers rather than the fret names. Just numbers. I don't like numbers. So that's the 5 shapes that you need to know. And then we'll go down. And then back to start. Chick Corea used to talk about the 10 drummers when he was playing. And each one's kind of beating and playing in time. When you're practicing legato, one of the things I used to do was put on a metronome and play drum parts. Like that. And try and make each finger hit the string just like a drum in time, and develop different timings with each finger. There you go. 10 drummers. What a nightmare, eh? Good grief. Can you imagine 10 drummers in a room? Do you know there's only 3 types of drummers? The ones that can count and the ones that can't.
Aye.
So if that feels like a lot to kind of take in, those 5 shapes, then look for the kind of commonalities between each one. What you'll find is that if we take, let's take shape 4, right? So down here, we've got a group of 6 notes that's using the 1, 3, 4 fingers. First, second, and fourth finger. And then that's always followed by the 1, 2, 4 kind of group of 6. And then that's always followed by one string that's got a couple of tones on it. And you can use whatever fingers you want. But it's a tone, then a tone, basically. And then we're back to what we played on the top. Whatever you play on the top, you play on the bottom, and vice versa. So we're back to that again. So if we follow that idea, if we start here, on this D, and transfer it up here, then we're starting halfway through this group of 6. But then it's always followed by the 1, 2, 4 group of 6, which is always followed by the group of 3 on their own, which is just the 2 tones, and then it goes back to the initial group of 6. So all the scales are like that. If we start with a group of 3, what's after the group of 3?
Group of 6.
Yeah, it's a group of 6, but it's this group of 6, which is followed by this group of 6, which is followed by this group of 3. So they're all the same. We can start shape number, would this be shape number 3? So that's using the 1, 2, 4 group of 6, and then the group of 3, and then this group of 6, back to the first group of 6. One always follows on from another. And it's no different to the normal pentatonic when you look at someone like shape number 1. You remember you had that little tunnel of notes right there, and then you had the group of 4 notes on their own. Whatever's on the top's on the bottom. And wherever you start, if that's an A, you're always going to have that little tunnel of notes that are all of 2 frets apart. Thank you very much. You know when I said I had difficulty with the numbers? I have difficulty with the names as well. I was lying. Anyway, you can also see that there's various patterns that continue around the neck. Again, if we start on shape 4 and take that group of 6, if we go up an octave, that is an A. This is an A. We've got the same pattern. And if we go up another octave, so now we're going from here to here. And then all we have to do is go up another 2 frets and we're covering 3 octaves. So that's quite handy for just getting out of the... You can start putting in these fast runs. Tastefully, please be tasteful. If you listen to a good saxophonist playing, they'll kind of use big, long, fast runs to get into a note and then hang there. So this brings me on to Holdsworthisms and little kind of quirks that happen within Holdsworth's playing. We're constantly looking for just straight patterns and easy kind of things that will quantify a guitarist or a type of music or something like that to make it easy to learn and easy to remember. Trying to narrow down what Allan Holdsworth does is very difficult. But there is a thread of evidence of lunacy throughout all his solos. And one of the things that he doesn't do is he doesn't repeat himself very often. Not within one solo, at least. So what you'll get is you'll get maybe 2 strings or one idea over 2 strings, and then he'll change and he'll do someone else, then he'll change and do someone else. And the beauty is that each time he changes, it's still got something to do with the last idea. So everything connects really well, which is what made him quite special, really, and very, very, very musical. But what you do is, what I mean by this is that you wouldn't do something like this and just play a scale straight up, just like that. What he'd do is he'd mix up what he was doing. So he might do first couple of strings like that, and then the next couple of strings, and then the next couple of strings. So you might get something like that. But you'll also, he wouldn't necessarily just stick to the same scale as well. There's also a lot of string skipping, where he's actually starting on the bottom string, on the E string, going up onto the D string, then up onto the top E string. And then he's off doing someone else. Like I said, we're going to keep all the ideas inside at the moment. So what we're going to do is we're going to start looking for patterns like that you can play and kind of join together. So that would be something from shape 4 into, that would be shape 5 into shape 1. So you can do that kind of lick. Conversely, you can kind of do the opposite fingering, where you take the big stretch and kind of go through the same pattern like that. It's, you know, it's a thing. It's if you do that, think of it more as a texture. I know that Holdsworth was highly influenced by John Coltrane, and Coltrane was, you know, accused of playing. Oops, wrong knob. I know Coltrane was accused of playing fast all the time, but if you listen to Coltrane's playing, it sounds like waves of sound. They used to call it sheets of sound. And Holdsworth was the same. He's not going for fast to show off. He's going for fast to kind of join the notes together. So it sounds like waves coming at you. And that's the way it sounds to my ears. So that's the way you should try and think of it. Don't think of it as just, right, there's that lass in the audience. I'm going to play my gratuitously woodless lick and try and impress her so that she'll buy me a drink. Cheapskate. Unless it's a good beer. If you're not very comfortable with the shape, for example, let's take shape number 2, just for example. You can start to learn the shapes and get them under your fingers faster by just jumping the strings, that kind of thing. You can also take patterns that are familiar to your fingers, like if I just go into like a D minor pattern. If you do that with, let's shape number 1. It's quite a... You get this kind of... It seems to take longer to get down to the D, which is quite cool. It sounds like that little confused thing. Holdsworth does that quite a lot in... That kind of... Those kind of things. And again, it's just like texture. It sounds like somebody speaking who's been having too much Timothy Taylor's. Maybe it's Ozzy Osbourne. Maybe Holdsworth has spent his entire life trying to imitate Ozzy Osbourne on guitar. Sharon! So like I said, I'm a big believer in using what you know already. And if you think about what you would normally play, let's take just a stock... one of those kind of licks, right? Ooh, great sound. That's the amp 1, by the way. It's my Bluguitar amp 1. It's the guitar going into the T-Rex molar and then going into the amp 1 on vintage mode. And then it's going into the Bluguitar blue box. There you go. Set to Bull or something like that. Apparently Bull cuts out a lot of the crap playing. What you do is you take a stock lick and instead of playing it in the normal pentatonic, you play it in the Holdsworth pentatonic. So what I'm going to do take that same idea and just knock it down a little bit. Like that. And all your normal licks become totally silly and really kind of bendy and all that kind of thing. But it's something that's already in your hand. Already you kind of know the sound of it, but we can completely change the kind of... I figured out all these pentatonics, again, from trying to work out Allan Holdsworth stuff. I would have figured them out when I was at music college back in 1990 or thereabouts, when some of you were very wee. And what I remember, the thing that I used to really like playing, the thing that I got from this immediately was you get a lot of double notes when you do these things, do this kind of pentatonic scale. That was one of my favourite tricks in the world. That was one of my pet licks that I used for years and years and years. So you've got that double note thing going on. But the other thing it helped me with was I was a big Chick Corea fan. Chick Corea has been a massive influence on my guitar playing, funnily enough. You know, keyboard player. I listen to more keyboard players than guitar players. And kind of always really have. Keyboard players tend to play a lot of fourths, which on the keyboard is really easy because you just kind of spread your fingers out and wiggle your elbows like that. And that's a keyboard player playing fourths. And that's what they do. On guitar, it's a little bit harder because it's consecutive strings. So if I want to do this, if I want to do that backwards and forwards, it's quite tricky. In fact, I'm rubbish at it. I wish I could do the Gambale thing, where he just goes. But what I found was playing Pentatonics, I can do this, like this. Much easier. Much easier than doing that. So, and I know that you can use hybrid picking and all that, and I am working on that. I'm not very good at it at the minute, so I'll use that. This has dug me out of all kinds of trouble. I was watching a Chick Corea thing the other day where he's talking about rhythmic displacement, and he does a lick that's something like I can't play it. There you go. I can play it no problem by using fourths like that. One of the tracks on the album Hyperrail, my album Hyperrail, plug, is called, it's a cover of a Wayne Shorter tune. It's one of my favourite Wayne Shorter tunes. It's called Witch Hunt. And it, the head of it, it's in C minor. And the head of it is, what is the head of it? Having to learn your own stuff. When I'm playing the head of that, it's all based on fourths, which I can play, but I'm not very comfortable playing it. So that's kind of some of the Holdsworthisms and some different ideas that you can use with these scales. But I'm not done yet. You can use 3 different keys over 1 key. So if we're in D minor, it's going to be our chosen specialist key this evening. We can play, if we want a D Dorian sound, then we can play a D minor pentatonic, and then we can play an E minor pentatonic, and then we can play an A minor pentatonic. And we get those 3 different keys, and each one of them will make it sound like D Dorian, and they will fit together. And for an explanation as to why, go and watch the initial Pentatonic video that I did. And basically, so we'll start with D minor pentatonic into E minor pentatonic into A minor pentatonic. So now, you see I did everything in the same position. Now, that's one way that you can do it. Now, that's a bit more of a complicated way because you have to think shape 1, and then in shape 5, and then into shape 3 of the A minor pentatonic, and then back into D minor pentatonic. So that's worth kind of investing your time in because it means that you won't always get the same sound. And the same if you use normal pentatonics. It will kind of take your playing in a different direction even though you're playing something fairly simple that you've got under your fingers already. Let's take it one step further. Let's make a complicated idea super easy. So what we're going to do is I'm going to just look for a nice easy finger pattern. I remember watching a Brett Garside video, and Brett Garside's he's a monster player from Australia. He uses a lot of the 4 notes per string type major scales and minor scales and fish scales, snake scales, you name it. The way that he plays, he talks about finding a finger pattern that's quite comfortable. So I'm quite comfortable with this one. I like the 1, 2, 4 finger thing. finger pattern. So I'm going to use that in D minor. So we're going to start in shape 5 in D minor. So I'm basically going to be playing the 8th, 10th and 13th fret. And then I'm going to do the same thing, the same shape, but in E minor. So I'm just going to move up 2 frets. So I'm going to play 10, 12 and 15. And then I'm just going to do the same thing in A minor, which is 10, 12, 15 on the A string. Now you see that we've already got this pattern on two consecutive strings. But let's take this up an octave. Now we get this. Woohoo! There you go, I could do that for days. Now, we take that up an octave. And then we take that up an octave. And we run out of strings. So we can do this. Like that. And all of a sudden we've got quite an easy pattern to play that's got a more complex sound than it sounds like, if that makes sense. Have I gone cross-eyed yet? I know what you're thinking. You're sitting, well, if I sit and do that, it doesn't make me sound like Allan Holdsworth. No, it doesn't. Because you've got to use the principle of not playing the same consecutive thing. You've got to have a kind of direction and a melody in your head. And the first part of getting the melody in your head is learning the sound of that pattern over a specific chord, D minor. Like that. Now, you don't have to just whittle your way through it. You can use the nice big intervals. But what it'll do is it'll give you a path. It'll give you a visualization like you would normally use. It gives you just a slightly bigger palette to use, a slightly bigger set of frets. And again, we're not doing anything terribly complicated just yet. But that's using 3 keys. Now we can start mixing and matching. So that we can go into shape 4 of D minor like we used earlier. Use these 6 notes. We've got these 6 notes here. But don't forget, when you go up 2 frets, you got the same 6 notes. So we've actually got quite a lot of strings we can play the same thing. Again, over a D minor type thing. We can start throwing in D minor, we can start throwing in E minor, A minor, with the same pattern. So what I think I did there, going from D minor to E minor, and then that's in A minor. That's in shape 3 A minor. And then you're back to D minor again. And then into the familiar pattern. Then you can do things, you can do big stretch things like, so instead of, you can even use the blues notes. So you can actually start to just get out that pentatonic rut if you're in that rut. And that was in the normal pentatonic shape 1. You can use that anywhere. When you start using things like, you know, a sound like that, that's a lot more Holdsworthian, if you like. Do you recognise that sound? That's just an E minor blues scale. I'm just using a little bit of string skipping. And then coming back down into a D minor again, you're getting something that sounds really sophisticated, but it's pretty easy, really. Ish. So hopefully you'll hear, within all those licks, you'll hear those kind of ideas in other people's playing who would be influenced by Holdsworth. So you'll hear it in Joe Satriani, for example, or Eddie Van Halen especially, Scott Henderson, even keyboard players, you'll hear it in things that somebody like Hiromi would play, or Steve Hunt, who played with Holdsworth. And a lot of these kind of ideas are highly melodic and kind of make you think in a different way. That's without even going into his harmonic sense, like the chords and all that kind of thing, which I can do in another video. I did a little Van Halen tribute where I had a bunch of Van Halen licks and I used them over Autumn Leaves. And it's amazing how well they fit over a jazz backing and how many kind of 2-5-1s he was using. Whether Van Halen was aware of doing that or not, but a lot of it I put down to the Holdsworth influence, because you take, like the licks from Eruption, and those big stretches from Beat It, things like that. In fact, Van Halen attributes his coming up with two-handed tapping to listening to Allan Holdsworth and not realising that the intervals were played with one hand. And so Van Halen came up with the two-handed version of playing stuff. And Van Halen's responsible for me playing a pentatonic, putting a B flat in the pentatonic all the time. Because when I started tapping, when I was younger, learning all the Van Halen stuff, Van Halen would do a lot of stuff where he'd just go down the frets like that. Or I could be misremembering it, and that's what I thought he was doing. So it's just become a habit. So it's infected my kind of Holdsworthian playing. So there you go. I'm not just being rubbish, it's Van Halen's fault. So I hope you found this video useful and it was interesting to you. If you don't know Allan Holdsworth's playing, where have you been? What have you been doing? Check it out. Whoa. So, just brings me to say, thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to hit the bell and the subscribe doodah thing. You know what to do. And from me, Timothy Taylor, here's to the great late Jedi Master, Allan Holdsworth. Stlye fan. Six notes, you've got 3 positions plus 3 scales, so that's 3 plus 3, that's 6. So that's 6/6 over 6 strings, 6/6/6. Did you know in Devil Take the Hindmost, if you play one of the licks backwards, you hear something weird? See if you can hear it. Drink Yorkshire ale and listen to Allan Holdsworth. Did you hear it? Weird. Somehow I just can't stop drinking Yorkshire bitter. Don't know why.